Hi there, I'm Katie Wagner. Welcome to Social Media Help Desk. This is the time every week where we talk a little bit about what's in the news regarding social media and also some of the tips and tricks we've been talking about around the agency this week. We do it every Tuesday at 12:30 Pacific time, so make sure you join us weekly. And today we are actually broadcasting from our Atlanta office. This is KWSM Atlanta, and I have with me one of our content editors, Adam.
Hello.
And our senior content editor, Chris.
Hi.
And we're going to have a great discussion today. Lots going on. And the first is something pretty much everyone's talking about, you guys, and that is that Facebook has been in the news because apparently they're collecting data on us. Who knew?
Shocking.
Yeah. We kind of laugh about this story around here, I'm going to be honest, because Facebook's always been collecting data, right? They weren't so public about it before, but we assume that it's always been happening. I heard actually something on the radio the other day. This is one of my favorite quotes. And this woman said, look, if the product is free, you are the product.
Exactly.
And that hit home, right? Oh, I get it. Why is Facebook giving us all these tools for free? Well, they want something in return. So we know that Facebook collects data, Chris, in three ways, right?
Mm-hmm.
Number one, they collect data about what you interact with on social media, what you like, what you comment on. Number two, they collect data from advertisers on Facebook,
Mm-hmm.
so companies you may have interacted with or purchased from.
Yeah.
And number three is third-party sources, data collection agencies, right? Experian, things like that. And they're making a change. They're going to get rid of one of those. Which one is it?
Well, they're trying to get rid of the third-party relationships because they feel that it's more important to just kind of keep that information close to the vest, if you will. And they want their ability to manage that interaction with the likes and the comments and the shares to have more value. And that part of the data is the most valuable. And these third-party relationships where they're kind of, let's call it rounding out their profile of the user is proving to be unreliable. And it's actually what seems like it's getting them in trouble for the most cases nowadays.
Yeah, a little hot water. But yeah, I mean, how much can they depend on that?
Right.
Go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, I mean, when you link your Facebook account to a third-party account, like I use it to log into Candy Crush, for example, or if you have it set up for Yelp or something else where you log in with Facebook, you are giving that company all of your Facebook data, which is why it says, can we have access to your public profile? They have access to your public profile.
So to protect ourselves, should we say no?
It depends. I mean, personally, I already know my data's out there, so if I'm logging into something and it's ease of use, I'm okay with it. But if you are uncomfortable or if you've shared too much with Facebook or you're worried about what people can see, you can also adjust the privacy settings, which we've discussed. But yeah, I think that's going to be the partnership that's going to leave the most. I don't think they're going to stop looking at your data and what you like and what you do on Facebook, but maybe you don't have to worry so much about third-party people grabbing your information.
Well, that's what makes Facebook a valuable company, right?
Exactly.
They collect a lot of data about their users, and let's be honest, we willingly give it.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? I mean, how many people do you know that post things on Facebook and you're like, really, you just shared that? But we put it out there, and I can't blame them for using it.
Well, yeah, and I mean, to be honest, I think that using your ads is a way to get your content back. I mean, yeah, click on ads. You'll see more of the stuff you want to see, which is, it's a way to tailor your timeline a little bit. So just be aware of how you interact with social media and Facebook, and that's going to be the biggest help if you are concerned.
Yeah, one of the things I am doing is severing all those login through Facebook links. I'm going to log into each app individually, the ones I want to, just to make sure that I have a smidge more control, although, it's not going to help a whole lot. And Adam, just for the record, you're not playing Candy Crush at work, right?
No, not on my computer anymore.
Okay, good, yes.
He said
yes.
hesitantly.
Mark Zuckerberg might have the right idea. Maybe I should start a little surveillance here about what we're logging on
I mean,
to.
yeah, you should just have us use our Facebook account to log into KWSM.
Yes. Log your hours through your Facebook account.
Boy.
I'm gonna call Mark, see if we can hook that up. All right, let's move on. Let's talk about a new feature on Twitter. So Twitter recently allowed us to start uploading videos to the stream, and people are liking that. It sort of came along with adding longer updates, right? They did away with the 140 character limit, and then they allowed us to start adding videos. But it used to be that on Twitter you had to watch the whole video. And now they're adding a feature they call time stamping, right? Timestamping, which would actually allow you to jump to a certain part in the video, only watch portions of the video, right?
Right. So it's it's the new feature. Basically, is let's call it a bookmark for a video, right? So up until then, everyone was they would post in or they would tweet something like go to 4 minutes and 52 seconds, and that was fine. People would just use the slider bar to get there. But now there's an actual spot at that timestamp where you can actually go and just click on it and you're automatically there. So this is the first time that Twitter has actually looked at the way a user interacts with their app, and this is the first of all the changes that they've made where it's received they're using it off of user feedback.
They're trying to make it more user friendly.
Exactly.
Right?
It's very similar to YouTube's option to copy URL at current time. So when you want to save somebody a 15-minute TED Talk, you want somebody to go in 5 minutes, you just copy it at the 5-minute mark. Whereas on Twitter, you kind of had to just tell people to go there and they'll sit and slide and get angry and miss things. So it's definitely a better user experience. But the same thing with catching up with YouTube's functionality, which is fantastic. I think it's a very strong idea, especially for sharing third-party content or your own content like this video. We may want to just direct somebody to the 12-minute mark, because we're talking about something fascinating.
I'm going to timestamp all my parts.
Absolutely,
I can skip you
yes.
guys.
Which I will be doing all the timestamping for myself and putting it on my social media.
Right,
So it's going to be
right.
perfect.
We'll have a timestamp off.
Yeah,
See whose
exactly.
parts get more views.
Oh, brother.
But I think you said people get irritated because they have to scroll through or whatever. But I think it's attention span too.
That too.
People just don't have the patience to sit there and get to the point in the video they want. Chris, can you tell us how that looks in a tweet? Like, do I have to reference the timestamp, or does it just exist in the video?
It just exists in the video. Before they install this, you'd have to actually reference the timestamp, but now it's in the video and it can be in multiple spots within the video. Right now, what they're doing though is they're limiting advertising on this because they don't want an advertiser to all of a sudden be, let's call it, married to a timestamp where the content isn't appropriate. So they're going to be phasing in advertising a little bit later on this. But yeah, that's how it works.
Okay. All right. So when I click on the video, it'll just go to the points that whoever posted the video
Yeah.
wants me to see.
Right.
All right. Interesting. Okay. And then another update from Instagram. And we debated this one before we started broadcasting here about whether we should talk about it because it just doesn't seem like that big a deal. But they have announced that now Instagram stories are going full screen. And more than that, they're making the background of the Instagram story sort of match the colors in the video so that it's just seamless and it takes over your whole mobile phone screen and gives you that immersive experience.
Well, this is specific for the ads as well.
Yeah.
And what they're doing is just, in my opinion, they're just making it so that it captures more of the user attention. Because if you think of Instagram as just fire hose of nice pictures and tags and stuff like that, the problem is that they want to kind of get that couple of seconds to make sure that the user can see the ad and stuff like that, or so that it just doesn't blend in with everything else. So this full screen experience is hopefully going to solve that problem.
So I'm notorious for just scrolling through stories because that's what we're talking about, right? Instagram stories. And you're talking about sponsored stories where an advertiser is putting one in there they want me to see. And I'm notorious for just swiping through them, right?
Yeah.
And I guess they're hoping that because it's so immersive, I'll pause a second before I swipe. Meh. It doesn't do anything for me.
It's going to be more impressive than having an image that you say upload and it's just surrounded by a white border. It will be more compelling, whether it's compelling enough to get users to actually continue looking at it. It may just be an aesthetic thing to make advertisers feel a little bit better or have a little bit more fun with their ads.
We sleep better at night, but is it working?
Exactly.
They might even be looking at the minutia of it, because if it's just a couple of seconds that they can steal away from every user, multiplied times the number of users that Instagram has, that's a ton.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
it just adds more viewing time.
Well, and if you think of Instagram, I mean, I'll be the realist here. If you think of Instagram as a business, right, then they can sell advertisers on the fact that their view time is a higher average now, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, you can't fault them for that. Everybody's trying to run a successful business, and social media is no different. But yeah, you guys will have to write in the comments if you've seen these things, and let us know if it really keeps you around longer, because for me, it wasn't that impressive.
Yeah.
Right.
Let's be honest. but cool for if you're an advertiser nonetheless. So let's stick with Instagram because Adam, you recently wrote an article about selling through Instagram.
I did, yeah. Typically, it's a visual medium.
Yeah.
We love Instagram because it's visual, so you get to capture more of the life of your product, the story of your product, but it hasn't really led to sales.
Right.
In Facebook, you can tag your friends, you can tag products, you have your whole store set up, and on Instagram, it's just sort of been, hey, look at my product. You can, maybe toss a link in the comments, etc. It's very sort of archaic in comparison to what we have for a lot of other mediums. So what they're actually doing is, there are some caveats on this, but you are going to be able to tag your Instagram photos with your product.
Same as you can on Facebook.
Exactly.
Okay.
And that it's very seamless, very simple to do, but it's going to be something that hopefully will encourage people to investigate the product more instead of having to see it and then go to the website and jump out of their phone. So it's going to be a seamless transition through the Instagram story.
That's interesting because, after Facebook bought Instagram, we're seeing a lot of these Facebook features kind of creep over and make their way over. And I'm with you. Like, Instagram's always been a branding channel for me, right? It's beautiful pictures, it can be very engaging, it's visual content, but it wasn't really about driving sales.
Right.
And now with product tags, now I assume if you tag a product in the picture, then I could click on it and go to wherever that product is.
Absolutely, yes. Some of the caveats, and one of the more important things is you do have to submit your account. Not all accounts will just have this, regardless.
So you have to qualify.
Yes.
Okay.
And one of those qualifications is you have to have a shop on your Facebook page. So it needs to be tied to what your store is, and you do have to sell physical products. So you also can't do just like e-services and stuff like that. It doesn't need to be a physical store. You have to have it renewed, and the United States has had this for a little bit. The threshold was a little bit harder to top to get approval, but now they're opening it up. And along with the U.S., we have Australia, Brazil, Canada, France, Germany, Italy, Spain, and the United Kingdom. So it branches out now to just about every country that Instagram is successful in and heavily used in will now have access to this feature.
Okay.
It's one of the easiest things to do. If you ever tag in Facebook, it's the exact same process. Our blog article on the website does have a visual guide to it if you're curious.
Shameless plug.
Exactly. You should read it anyway, but it is very, very simple. Basically, just put your item in an image, whatever it may be, select it, and it will actually bring up a full menu of your store from Facebook. And you can just pick your item, grab it, and it will link it. And what you will see at the very bottom left-hand corner is a little shopping bag. And people will be able to click that, see all of the products you tag, because you can tag multiples. So if you have 10 items, if you want to try to cram them all in your photo, don't recommend it. But
sometimes you might have a flat lay photo with one or two items.
Exactly.
In there.
And so they'll be able to look at all of them, and they can click on it just like you would click on someone's face on a tagged picture on Facebook, and you will go to that product and give you a price. And it's a very, very seamless transition as well, since it is tied to your Facebook store. Just seamlessly takes them over there, and people can purchase.
Yeah, that's cool. Because one of the things that I've always had a problem with as a marketer on Instagram is that it doesn't drive traffic the way something like Facebook does, because each individual post doesn't link anywhere. You have to say link in bio, and people have to go back, and will they do that? But this is sort of eliminating that issue. It's allowing us to drive traffic directly to products. Now, I couldn't tag something like social media's consulting, right? It has to be a physical item.
Yes. You have to have things that are for sale in your store, and they do need to be actual items. And if you submit to Facebook, they will either approve you or deny you, and they will tell you why. So if there is something that you are missing, you can easily go back and fix that, resubmit. So it's worth looking into if you have enough products that you feel you want to put them in there. It's fantastic, and get people over to your Facebook page.
Yeah, so I know that this is brand new, but you've just been using it for a few clients.
Yes.
Anecdotally, do you feel like it's working? Do you think people are clicking on those?
We've had a few clicks, not a crazy amount, because again, this is new, so people aren't in that
They're not
habit.
used to it. Yeah.
Right, they're not in the habit of it yet. We had people have been viewing it, people have been jumping over to the Facebook page. It definitely does seem an increase in traffic, and when you look at it as a platform, you may not get 1,000 clicks, but for a platform that you've never had any clicks from, all of a sudden, if you get 10 an image, you're already doing better. So it's definitely brand awareness. You want to make sure you're in the habit of tagging the product every single time so that people are used to it, people see it more often, and hopefully it sort of gets it in your user's mind that they're going to want to click on it. But yeah, I think that it's going to be a ridiculous growth market as time goes on and as more and more countries get it. So jumping on early is better, for
Yes,
sure.
early adopters. Well, and bigger brands have had this first, right? Some of the larger advertisers have
Yes.
always been able to do this, but now it's rolling out to those of us, the little people.
Right, and we had seen products where, we represent products like myself, where we had a big enough base that it was very easily approved, quickly done, like we had a huge base. But if you're only looking at a number, a couple hundred customers or the people that are actually checking, it's not going to seem as effective at first. But definitely use it as a growth, something to grow your audience, and it's going to give your products a little bit more branding. Which I haven't noticed, because people are going to see your item in a picture, but they don't have a price, they don't necessarily have the name, there's a lot of specificity you can put in there with the tagging, and I think that that's going to be huge for brand awareness.
Okay, I love that. So even if you're a smaller company and it's not driving a ton of sales at first, there's still some value there.
Absolutely.
To go ahead and do it. I think, we haven't talked about this yet, but I'm coming up with it off the top of my head. I actually like the way, I don't know if I like it, I've actually noticed that Facebook and Instagram are kind of merging seamlessly together, and now they work together more and more. And I wonder, obviously Facebook owns Instagram, so they're doing this intentionally. I wonder if it's going to come to a point as marketers where you really don't have a Facebook page without an Instagram, or an Instagram without a Facebook page, because sometimes the brands we work with now have one or the other, but I wonder if now they're just kind of a package deal and you need both to get full bang for your buck.
I think there's no reason to not have both.
Okay.
Because they are so tied together. If you have a Facebook page, put out an Instagram page. And the way you use it is totally up to you, obviously, but definitely have it. There's no reason to not have those two because there's so much synergy. Like, it's definitely worth it. And it definitely gives your brand a little bit more, cachet. It makes it a little better. The more channels you have, the better. The more places you're putting your creativity, the better. There really is no reason to not do both.
What do you think, Chris? Team Adam, agree or disagree?
Well, I'm going with Team Adam on this, but one of the things I think that Facebook is actually doing is that within the ads manager, you can already put ads onto Instagram through the Facebook ads manager.
True.
So it does make a whole lot of sense. And one of the things that you touched upon previously, as far as just new likes and features and things like that they're adding, they're doing a lot of ripping off of Snapchat. So like, it seems like Snapchat has all these wonderful, innovative things, and then all of a sudden Instagram has them. So like, stories was one of them.
Filters.
That.
Well, and some would argue that Instagram's doing them better.
Yeah,
Right?
absolutely.
They took it and improved on it.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah. All right, devil's advocate, Adam, because that's my role. You're a creative guy. You work a lot with products. You have a lot of images. What if I don't have a visual brand? So Facebook, I can still talk about things like services and sort of some of the less sexy things, how my consulting firm can help you.
Right.
But Instagram, how many pictures of me at a desk consulting could I post?
If you don't have a creative or visual story or idea, you should get one. That's really what it comes down to. I feel like every brand, even if you think, it's so dry and boring, it's not.
Yeah.
There's always a story. There's always your personality. If it's just you in a small, tiny office, there's plenty of ways to make fun of that and to sort of be self-deprecating and silly and show off the life of your brand. There's always something you can do. If you go out for work events, which a lot of people do, here's our holiday party, here's the volunteer work we're doing over the weekend. There's always a visual story there.
Well, and I like that. We always say tell your story, right?
Yes.
And one of the elements of good storytelling is that good stories have people in them. So even if you are a lawyer or a CPA or a consultant, there are lots of people in your story, right? You
Absolutely.
have coworkers, you have clients, vendors or referral partners you work with. So those interactions could make great stories throughout the day.
If you do, if you go out to do speaking events, is another great thing. If you go out on any kind of even vacations and trips, and there's a ton of ways to use Instagram effectively. So I feel if you're just concentrating on Facebook, you're really limiting yourself, especially because, as Chris said, you can do ads on both. If you have your Instagram channel, well, hey, now you've got ads for Facebook and Instagram, and there's just too much. Those two are too tied together to not be doing both.
All right. Fair enough. And, we talk all the time about, lost my train of thought. We talk about a lot of things, but also, hang on, it's coming. Wait for it. Oh, I remember now, about how people have short attention spans. And
Yes.
wait, was that perfect? People have short attention spans, and you have to learn how to make your product visual because people aren't going to read a whole lot. And Mark Zuckerberg says in 5 years, Facebook's going to be entirely video, right? And so even if you're in one of those less sexy professions, you have to learn how to tell that story in a way that's engaging.
Right. And text posts still have their place. They'll always have their place. Sharing stories is always going to be good usage. But right now, you need to be thinking of your brand visually, not necessarily how to write down your story as a press release or as a website. You need to tell it visually. And Instagram is a great way to practice that, especially with small things like product tagging. It's a new way to sell your message. Start being a little bit creative and experimental. And
You're a believer.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, this is the lead into what they want Facebook to be. So
It is.
get practicing.
It is. All right. So you mentioned website. Let's shift gears and talk about our website a little bit because one of the other things that social media helps with is SEO, right? Helping your website be found online.
Sure.
And a lot of businesses that we work with are worried about that. How can I be found more easily? How can my website have good SEO, which is search engine optimization, just meaning how high you show up on Google. And Chris, you recently wrote an article about SEO's changed a lot.
Yep.
And there are sort of new best practices. It's
Yep.
always changing, but new best practices and things we should really pay attention to. And one of those is the user experience. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure, yeah. I mean, the way it's important to note that people don't necessarily search past like page 2 or page 3, right? So you need to have an optimized website and the foundations for an optimized website in order to just get as high ranked as possible. And you don't want to do anything nefarious, if you will. But just having a good foundation on the website is what's important, and then Google will take that and then rank it accordingly and so on and so forth. One of the things that they're really recommending at this point is a very, very mobile friendly website. And it's because that between 60 and 70% of all searches now are mobile.
Right.
So it's as long as it's resolving on a phone or a tablet or wherever, that creates a better experience for the user, and then of course Google likes that. They also want a very, very easy to follow menu and simple navigation so that it's not complicated to go through a website where you're going to get lost and end up someplace that you don't necessarily want to be at. So, but yes, that's so far.
I think when people think about SEO, they think, oh, I have to do all this like coding and mumbo jumbo for Google. And really, Google prioritizes, do people like your website?
That's exactly right.
Is it easy to use? Is it easy to read? We always say when designing web copy, write for humans. And Google will figure it out, right? Don't write for Google.
And I mean, really, Google is sort of doing the engineering stuff for you because it is looking through your website and things like feature images on your blogs. If you don't have a name attached to that in the back end, Google's going to see jargon. Whereas if you put, hey, look at me, we're representing social media, or like, Katie Wagner social media, you put those things in there and Google sees them. Google's going to troll your web page. And yeah, that's just those little tricks.
So you're talking about the back end, metadata. Let's talk about metadata, Chris, because that is how you code the site. We call it on-site optimization, right? You code the site so that Google knows what it's about.
Right.
So talk to me about that.
So there's the natural language that we read about on the actual web pages so that a human can understand the copy and everything else. But then underneath it, it's called the metadata is the language that the search engine needs to read and understand so that it can actually import the pages into its ranking system and kind of run its, call it algorithms on it to make sure that it ranks highly and so on and so forth. And there's a couple of aspects of that metadata that's important. Number one is unique titles. So making sure that the title is long enough, unique enough, and specific to the page so that Google understands what exactly it's seeing, and then making sure you also have a good description of exactly what it is. So whenever we're putting blog posts up, it's always important to have the meta keywords, the meta tag titles, as well as the description as to exactly what it is. And Adam actually just touched on something that's just as important, which is describing what the pictures are, right? So instead of like screenshot.jpg, which everyone seems like they're notorious in having, you want something that says something like, let's say, social media expert Atlanta. And then that picture will be a picture of us or something along those lines.
Yeah.
And that's how Google or search engines understand exactly what they're displaying or ranking.
And for people that aren't necessarily, clear on the vernacular, when you look at Facebook and you see somebody post a story from the New York Times, let's say,
Okay.
you will see the feature image at the top, the headline and description. That is what they're considering the metadata. That feature image, that's part of the metadata, like that whole package.
The
is
little
what-
blurb that comes up.
Those are the key parts that it's looking for first and foremost. So that's a very good way to think about those three topics are great places to start and get extremely good at, and make sure that those are as on point as you can. And then as you get practice with WordPress or whatever your website is on, you'll start seeing those more in-depth pieces.
And those actually come from the back end, though, right, Chris? Like those are things you're coding in the back end. It's the same as if you do a Google search and a link shows up and then it has a little blurb about it with it, a few lines. That's the metadata,
Yeah.
right? But that, and this may be hard for you to do yourself. So you want a web designer or an SEO company, somebody to help you with this. But those are the things you code into the back end of your web pages. And I think of it as just telling Google what the site is about.
Exactly.
Say, hey Google, this site's about social media consulting. So when people search for that, show them our website, right? You're just giving them hints. But the metadata alone used to be the most important thing.
Yes.
And now, correct me if I'm wrong, but now it's sort of neck and neck with the content, the user experience, the front-facing part of your website. Because if you have great metadata, but everybody hates your website, can't navigate it, doesn't stay long, doesn't appear to be using it well, Google downplays that, right?
That's right. Yeah, the content is the most important thing, and it has to be relevant. So a lot of websites have gotten in trouble with, let's call it being dinged, where their metadata was not specific to the content that was on the page. So when those two things don't line up, that actually creates a problem, and then that creates what they call a bad user experience, and then that actually will downgrade the page into a point where no one's going to be able to want to see it. So, and that's how they do it.
How much does it take mobile into account? Like, does Google see a mobile page? Like, do they
Yeah,
read
they
that
do.
for
Yeah.
people? Like, do they? Okay, so then they're judging it.
Yeah, they're actually just released a new way of, they're actually indexing mobile pages as a priority over the regular website.
Makes
So
sense.
that just happened a couple of months ago.
There's great tools for people too. If you aren't sure about your website, there are mobile phone emulators that will actually break down your site. And you can look at it through iPhones or Samsung. Pretty much any phone that's out there will let you see. So if you're not sure your site looks good on mobile, definitely run through and you want to look at Android and Apple products. So that's something people tend to miss when they're building SEO out. Their website might look amazing, they might have everything correct, but their mobile experience might be terrible.
Well, and as Chris said, 60 to 70% of people are looking at it that way. So if your website's not mobile friendly,
Yep.
is it good?
Exactly.
You know?
So every blog you write, everything like that, check it on a mobile phone emulator and make sure that it is going to be great for SEO.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, to make sure your website's user friendly or it's a good website, sometimes I just like to look at Google Analytics, right, which is a free program that Google let you install, and it'll tell you about your traffic, where's your traffic coming from, etc. But for me, I like to look at how long are they staying. What are they clicking on? If you have tons of traffic going to your website, but they're staying 10 seconds, that's not a great website, right? It's not converting them. It's not holding their attention. But if they're staying a couple of minutes, they're clicking on different pages, they're reading your blog, that's a much more engaging website. And that's a good foundation or a better foundation to start with for SEO and, quite frankly, for getting business off your website too. Right?
That's exactly right. Yeah, the bounce rate is very, very important. It's one of the statistics that you're actually talking about. And what it is they're coming to the page, and as soon as they see whatever they're looking at, they leave. And of course, that's a terrible user experience, right? So it's the goal is to keep that number as low as possible, and then that's to have a user navigate through the website and just kind of, let's say, stay on there for as long as they possibly can. The longer they stay on the website, the propensity for them to become a lead or a customer of yours increases.
Yeah. Which, is the point, right? We talk all the time, what good is great social media if it doesn't actually lead to business, right? It's got to provide results. So, all right, any final thoughts before we say goodbye?
No, it sounds like, especially with SEO, it's getting so much easier, and it's making it easier to do products. So social media is getting much more streamlined, and it's fantastic. So
And accessible to people.
Exactly.
Right?
So don't be afraid to try new programs. Don't be afraid to play with emulators, to play with your tags.
And if you get stuck, call us.
Exactly.
We'll help you out. All right, so we'll be back here next Tuesday at 12:30 for Social Media Help Desk. In the meantime, if you need more tips and advice, there are two places you can get them. First is our blog. We post every single day on the blog, right on our website. And then our YouTube channel, we have a playlist called Social Media Help Desk, which is our past episodes of this show. And we also have a playlist called Tip of the Day, which you will see all of us offering our best tips for you to do your social media better. So as always, please like us, follow us on Facebook, like our YouTube channel and subscribe, and please like this video so that we can keep making them. All right, have a good week, everybody. Talk to you soon.